Chapter 8 of Cocoa and Chocolate. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. This reading by Allison Hester of Athens, Georgia. Cocoa and Chocolate, From Plantation to Consumer, by Arthur W. Knapp. Chapter 8. The Composition and Food Value of Cocoa and Chocolate. The early writers on chocolate generally became lyrical when they wrote of its value as a food. Thus, in the Natural History of Chocolate by R. Brooks (1730), we read that an ounce of chocolate contains as much nourishment as a pound of beef; that a woman and a child, or even a counsellor, lived on chocolate alone for a long period; and further, before chocolate was known in Europe, good old wine was called the milk of old men; but this title is now applied with greater reason to chocolate, since its use has become so common that it has been perceived that chocolate is, with respect to them, what milk is to infants. A more temperate zone is shown in the following, from a curious treatise of the nature and quality of chocolate by Antonio Colmenero de Ledesma, a Spaniard, physician and chirurgeon of the city of Écija in Andalusia, printed at the Green Dragon, 1685. So great is the number of those persons who at present do drink of chocolate, that not only in the West Indies, whence this drink has its original beginning, but also in Spain, Italy, Flanders, etc., it is very much used, and especially in the court of the King of Spain, where the great ladies drink it in a morning before they rise out of their beds, and lately much used in England as diet and physic with the gentry. Yet there are several persons that stand in doubt both of the hurt and of the benefit which proceeds from the use thereof; some saying that it obstructs and causes oppilations; others, and those the most part, that it fattens; several assures us that it fortifies the stomach; some again that it heats and inflames the body; but very many steadfastly affirm that though they should drink it at all hours, that even in the dog days they find themselves very well after it." So much for the old valuations. Let us now attempt by modern methods to estimate the food value of cacao and its preparations. Food value of cacao beans. In estimating the worth of a food, it is usual to compare the fuel values. This peculiar method is adopted because the most important requirement in nutrition is that of giving energy for the work of the body, and a food may be thought of as being burnt up, oxidized, in the human machine in the production of heat and energy. The various food constituents serve in varying degrees as fuel to produce energy, and hence, to judge of the food value, it is necessary to know the chemical composition. Below we give the average composition of cacao beans, and the fuel value calculated from these figures. Average composition and fuel value of freshly roasted cacao beans, nibs. Cacao butter. Composition 54.0 equals energy giving power 2,282 calories per pound. Protein, total nitrogen 2.3%. Composition 11.9 equals energy giving power 221 calories per pound. Cacao starch. Composition 6.7. Energy giving power 472 calories per pound. Other digestible carbohydrates, etc. Composition 18.7 equals energy giving power 472 calories per pound. Stimulants. Theobromine. Composition 1.0. Caffeine. Composition 0.4. Mineral matter. Composition 3.2. Crude fiber. Composition 2.6. Moisture composition 1.5. Total composition 100. Total energy giving power 2,975 calories per pound. It will be seen from the above analysis that the cacao bean is rich in fats, carbohydrates, and protein, and that it contains small quantities of the two stimulants, theobromine and caffeine. In the whole range of animal and vegetable foodstuffs, there are only one or two which exceed it in energy-giving power. If expressed in quite another way, namely as food units, the value of the cacao bean stands equally high, as is shown by the following figures taken from Smitham's result published in the Journal of the Royal Agricultural Society, 1914. Food units: turnips 8, carrots 12, potatoes 26, rice 102, corn flour 104, wheat 106, peas 113, oatmeal 117, coconut 159, cacao bean 183. These figures indicate the high food value of the raw material. We will now proceed to consider the various products which are obtained from it. Food value of cocoa. Average composition and fuel value of untreated cocoa. Cacao butter, composition 28.0 equals energy giving power 1,183 calories per pound. Protein, composition 18.3 equals energy giving power 340 calories per pound. Cacao starch, composition 10.2, energy giving power 718 calories per pound. Other digestible carbohydrates, etc., composition 28.4 equals energy giving power 718 calories per pound. Stimulants: theobromine, composition 1.5, caffeine, composition 0.6, mineral matter, composition 5.0, crude fiber, composition 4.0, moisture, composition 4.0, total composition 100.0, total energy giving power 2,241 calories per pound. Soluble cocoa, i.e. cocoa which has been treated with alkaline salts, is almost identical in composition, save that the mineral matter is about 7.5%. As cocoa consists of the cacao bean, with some of the butter extracted, a process which increases the percentage of the nitrogenous and carbohydrate constituents, it will be evident that the food value of cocoa powder is high, and that it is a concentrated foodstuff. In this respect it differs from tea and coffee, which have practically no food value. Each of them, however, have special qualities of their own. Some of the claims made for these beverages are a little remarkable. The Embassy of the United Provinces, in their address to the Emperor of China, Leyden, 1655, in mentioning the good properties of tea, wrote, "More especially it disintoxicates those that are fuddled, giving them new forces, and enabling them to go to it again." The Embassy do not state whether they speak from personal experience, but their admiration for tea is undoubted. Tea, coffee, and cocoa are amongst our blessings. Each has its devotees, each has its peculiar delight. Tea makes for cheerfulness, coffee makes for wit and wakefulness, and cocoa relieves the fatigued, and giving a comfortable feeling of satisfaction and stability. Of these three drinks, cocoa alone can be considered as a food, and just as there are people whose digestion is deranged by tea, and some who sleep not a wink after drinking coffee, so there are some who find cocoa too feeding, especially in the summer time. These sufferers from biliousness will think it curious that cocoa is habitually drunk in many hot climates. Thus, in Spanish-speaking countries, it is the custom for the priest, after saying mass, to take a cup of chocolate. The pure cocoa powder is, as we saw above, a very rich foodstuff, but it must always be remembered that in a pint of cocoa only a small quantity, about half an ounce, is usually taken. In this connection the following comparison between tea, coffee, and cocoa is not without interest. It is taken from the Farmer's Bulletin 249, an official publication of the United States Department of Agriculture.